Well, it's pretty clear that the music business is surviving, and that's good. But I would encourage people. I always say, like, go as deep as you can. Don't pussyfoot around. Don't go halfway. If you're going to do something, do it. And that means, to do something like what I do, you have to be driven and you have to be obsessed, and don't hesitate to be those things because you don't accomplish anything unless you are. you know.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters in That podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and today I am very honored to host William Pollak, aka Billy Price. How you doing today, brother?
Doing great, man.
And just to fill everybody in, Mr. Billy Price here, he's pretty renowned for the works he's done in blues, gospel, and R&B, and he's done numerous collaborations with other well-known musicians. His resume is pretty extensive, to say the least, and if you know him in Pittsburgh, he's been in every bar, venue you can think of too. So, so I guess what you been up to recently, Billy? I think last time I was checking, you were at PNC Park, and then other times I saw you down in Tampa.
Yeah, I was down in Florida last week. Did a few dates down there. I played in, as you say, Tampa, and also Sebastian, Florida, at Earl's Hideaway, and the Buckingham Blues Bar in outside of Fort Myers. Also played last week in Richmond, Virginia.
You've been everywhere, man. Yeah, you toured extensively as well. So we'll talk a little bit more into that in detail. But I guess how's Florida been? Because is there still signs of Hurricane Ian still in and around Tampa and some of the other areas?
No, I didn't really see anything. No, it was okay. I guess there had been a real bad storm in Fort Lauderdale the week before we got there. But man, there was a hell of a rainstorm right at the end of our show at Earl's in Sebastian. We're lucky we got the show in, but man, at the end of our last set, the skies just opened. It was crazy.
It was an outdoor venue.
Yeah, it's an outdoor venue, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
I guess were you guys the headline act for that one?
Yeah, we were the only band there. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. Just wanted to check, but
Or anything now.
I guess were you at PNC Park last night?
Yeah. I was watching the Pirates. Yep.
You know, I was only able to catch glimpses of it too, but I guess they score all the runs in one inning because it seems like
No, they got two in the second, and then one later came as a result of an error by the Reds, and then another insurance run in the seventh.
I think this is a sign of a good season here, but let's not jump hope, or let's not get our hopes up too soon here. So, and actually, I had Jimmy Adler on here not too long ago. I guess have you guys stay in touch?
Yeah. Jimmy's really good, and we're good friends. Yeah.
Actually, I also had Pierce Stibner on last year, and he was.
Yeah, Pierce has been playing with us every now and then. We're playing with him at Moondogs, May the 5th.
You know, when I was interviewing him, he said he wanted to go to CCAC for music, but then Jimmy told me he was at IUP. So
it's an IUP, right? Yeah.
Okay, looks like guess things change over time. So I guess how'd you and Jimmy meet? Actually, I didn't ask him that when I interviewed him.
I don't really remember. I mean, just kind of both aware of each other, I guess, and eventually we did some things together. He invited me to sing with him a couple of times at this little club where he had a Monday night thing going, and now he's got the Blue Monday thing going at the Bridge, and I've done shows with him over there a couple of times. So.
That's really good. You guys think of a new collaboration soon, or are you guys kind of just rolling with your own thing right now?
Yeah.
All right. So, Billy, just to kind of fill you in, the way my podcast works is I like people to share their stories and get to know them both as the musician and as the individual too. So I sent you the questions here. Ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. We'll start with the first one here. Who is Billy Price?
Well, so that's not my real name, as you know, but I was when I was a kid, I was singing in this at this bar. I was underage, I think, but they had like a house band and they had an amateur contest, and so I was kind of inebriated and I got up on stage and I won the amateur contest. They asked me what my name was, and so there was a guy named Lloyd Price who was real popular back then. Had the song, Personality and Staggerly and Just Because and some other stuff. And I just said Billy Price just out off the top of my head because I thought it sounded cooler than my real name. And so then, like I said, I won the amateur contest, and then they called me and they had me come in and do a whole weekend with the house band, and they put it. This was in Spring Valley, New York, near where I lived in New Jersey, and they put it in the local Spring Valley paper as the Billy Price Review, and then the name just kind of stuck after that. So,
I guess what made you want to stick with? You started with blues, right? Because that's how you met Roy Buchanan.
well, I always liked blues, and I always especially loved soul music. Rhythm and blues, soul music, all those kinds of things, and gospel, as you say.
Yeah. I guess how did you and Roy meet actually?
So I was in a band. I went to school at Penn State, and we had a band there called the Rhythm Kings, and that band started to play in Pittsburgh and became pretty popular. We were the house band at this bar in Shadyside called the Fox Cafe back then on Walnut Street, and there was a guy that came in and heard us play several times, and he had become Roy Buchanan's manager. He was a Pittsburgh guy, and at that time, shortly after he became the manager, Buchanan was getting ready to record his third album for Polydor Records, and this guy Jay that I mentioned, he told Roy that, well, we should get this guy to come in and sing, because Roy didn't really sing much, just a little bit. In fact, he had this other guy singing lead on his first two albums, I think. But they brought me in to sing lead on this studio album, and I did that, and I toured with Roy for about a year and a half. Then I went back and sang with the Rhythm Kings for a while, and then they had one more album on Polydor Records. This would have been Buchanan's fifth album. They were about to move to Atlantic Records, and they owed Polydor one more album, so they decided to do a live album, and then they brought me in to do the live album. That was the album Livestock.
Oh, that's really sweet too. And actually, my dad had to kind of fill me in with Roy Buchanan, but I guess he had tragically took his own life. Was that what happened?
Yeah, that was many years after I was with him. But,
May he rest in peace. And
yeah.
But I guess what made you want to move to Pittsburgh, actually? Because you were born in New Jersey, and then you eventually moved here.
Yeah, like I said, I went to school at Penn State, and then we had this band, and the band just kind of caught on in Pittsburgh. The thing was, we were doing like an older style of blues, like a horn-based blues thing. We had 2 or 3 horns, sometimes as many as 4, and that kind of music just caught on here in Pittsburgh in a way, because I think that's the kind of music that Porky Chedwick used to play on the radio, and so I think people's ears in Pittsburgh were tuned to that kind of music that we were doing. We were doing this kind of late 1940s, early 1950s jump blues or swing blues. We did a lot of songs by Wynonie Harris and Roy Brown and T-Bone Walker and people like that. And people just dug it here. So, we ended up moving here, and I kind of settled down and got used to the city. I like the city.
Yeah. I would say anytime you hear like those musicians who talk about who make it like real big at some point, they always say like, oh, we went to Nashville and we eventually made it real big, like how the Dolly Partons and all the big country music stars made it big, or someone went to New York or Chicago, and like nobody ever thinks of Pittsburgh a whole lot anymore. So it's kind of a shame too. My dad actually seen you.
Really good local scene these days, I think.
It's starting to get there, yeah. Because
yeah,
I know I interviewed some guy from the Mr. Smalls not the theater, but it was actually the recording studio. And
Yeah.
he said the music scene's like really expanding now, so you get a whole variety of genres out here.
Yeah, I think it's true, and there's a lot of good stuff too.
Absolutely too.
Yeah.
And is there a favorite venue you really like? Because my dad's seen you a couple times at the Moondogs.
Yeah, I love to play Moondogs. Yeah, I've been playing there played there a number of times. I play there always, 3 or 4 times every year. Um, there's a lot of I just played recently in this club that has to be the nicest club I've ever played in my life. It was up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. It's called Jimmy's Jazz and Blues Club, and it's just a beautiful space. Great food. They treat the bands like kings. I mean, everything was just wonderful, first class all the way. And I also love playing at the Ram's Head Tavern in Annapolis, Maryland. I recorded a live album there, and I enjoy the Club Cafe a lot. I like to play there, so in a lot of places.
It's almost like that hit song, I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
Yeah. And the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia is another real good one.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I've seen you 5 or 6 times, to be honest.
Yeah,
Just the name off the top of my head. But that's also because, like I said, you've been playing at every venue. But my dad's seen you a little bit too. But the one thing I really wish they would bring back is the blues festival that they used to do at Hartwood Acres. And
yeah, they have it now at the Sirius Shrine Center. Yeah.
Oh, is that where they do it? Do you have to pay to get in? Because I think
yeah,
when it was at Hartwood, you had to. I don't remember. I was trying to remember if you had to pay to get in. I thought you could just walk right in, to be honest, but I couldn't remember. But
yeah,
the one I always remember with you, though, was you kind of froze in place on the stage. Kind of seemed like you had dead, but then you came back to life afterwards, too. So
I always do. I stole that from James Brown.
Did you?
James Brown used to do that, yeah.
Well, was that a cover song, or what
no,
song
I mean,
was
it's the freezing thing,
Oh, that, okay. But what was the name of the song? That's what I wanted to ask.
I actually do it in a lot of different songs.
Did you?
Yeah, right now I'm doing it in a song called You Are My Sunshine, a cover of an OJ's song.
Oh.
Yeah.
That actually used to be my aunt's favorite words to say, too. You are my sunshine, so. She had tragically passed, but so
yeah.
That kind of hits hard, too, but thank you for singing that song. I guess the big thing these days, especially people like me, since we're young and we're just starting to get to know Billy Price, I guess, how do you try to portray yourself to like a younger audience, or let alone try to reach out to them?
Well, I mean, I'm not really succeeding in connecting to a younger audience, honestly. So, my audience is pretty old, so I don't really have an answer for you. I mean, the style of music that I'm doing is really popular among younger people, but I and all my band members are old, and I think younger people aren't particularly interested in going to hear that. A bunch of old guys, honestly. So, I wish it were different, but I mean, there's always some young people in the audience. But I think I have a pretty good reputation among younger people who are into music, but I don't by any means have a large following of people under 40.
I tend to think of that too, especially with the classic rock groups. They still seem to like drawing like the people who would see them back in the 70s and 80s, and that's really a damn shame too, because especially someone like you who's been rolling with it since the 70s.
Yeah.
But even working like 2 jobs as well, is because you were working part-time at Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah, I was there full-time for many years, but I did the best recordings I did were when I was working full-time at another job, so I was able to do both, which is good.
Did you also do something at Duquesne? Because I think my dad told me he took a class where you talked about jazz and blues music.
That was at CCAC. I taught a non-credit adult education class, on history of rhythm and blues music. Yeah.
I guess what made you want to do that, or did they invite you to come on in and say like, "Hey, Billy, just talk about this and that and see where it goes"?
Well, I'm in addition to being a singer, I'm a big fan and I think a student of the music. So it just seemed like something that would be fun to do, and I did it a few times. Yeah.
My dad and actually my uncle were there too, and I think it was
Oh,
just
really?
I think it was just mainly because they wanted to see you, but I guess they wanted to also see
Yeah.
because now we call you an historian of blues, jazz, and all the genres.
Yeah, well, I am. I do read a lot about the music, and I'm a fan more than anything else. You know.
That's pretty cool. Do you still do it now, or are you kind of like retired from doing any sort of teaching at Carnegie and CCAC?
Every once in a while, people have me invite me to give a talk. Just a couple of months ago, I did that outside of State College with a friend of mine who teaches at Penn State, and we talked about soul music for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then performed a few songs and took questions and answers from the audience. So I do it occasionally when I'm asked, but I don't do it regularly, you know.
Did you do anything during COVID, like do anything like over Zoom, like any sort of teaching?
Well, I did a couple of things. We made a connection with there's this group in Cleveland called the Cleveland Treatment Center, and they asked me and my keyboard player Jimmy Britton to produce some recordings. They have it's a treatment facility for drug addicted teenagers and stuff, and they put together this album with me and a couple of other artists where we made these music tracks, and then the kids who were living there could come in and sing background vocals and record and learn about the recording process. So we worked on that, and that worked out really well for everybody. We made some really very nice recordings, I think, at that time. And then I kept pretty busy. I did more of my day job work to just keep myself going, But it was pretty bleak, for a couple of years we weren't performing out, and this year has been really tremendous. Been very, very busy, and it's been great to get back.
Yeah, I guess that kind of led into the next part of it. But how did it affect you personally? Because I guess you obviously did touch on it professionally too, because you weren't able to go out and tour and do all that stuff. So I guess how did it affect you personally?
Yeah, well, so I was living in Baltimore at the time. I had moved to Baltimore, and I was trying to develop like another regional market for myself in Baltimore and Washington D.C. And I had a different band there, and I think that the pandemic coming when it did kind of killed the momentum of that band. I think we would have done better if we could have kept going. We were just starting to get to catch on, So eventually, I moved back to Pittsburgh.
And just kind of, did you try any of the live streaming? Because that seemed what some bands tried to do.
Nobody really watched it. I mean, it was stupid. I was playing a lot of gigs where we would play outdoors and like parking lots, and the venues wouldn't pay us anything, but they would put out a tip jar and we would play for tips, and it was difficult.
Actually, it almost sounds like the sort of beggar thing you do, where you try to play music and people come up and put dollar bills in your jar.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people were very generous. So we made decent money, but there was just something about it that is not the same as what it is today.
There is still hope for humanity after all, so that's good. Yeah, it's good to see you made it through, I guess. Did you have any brushes with COVID, or were you and your bandmates all okay?
Yeah, no, I got it twice. I got it. I actually got it in Europe last October. I was in Europe with a band from Boston that invited me to go over with them. We did 1 month in Europe, and 1 week of the tour, we were at this blues camp where we gave some instruction and some talks. I gave a talk one night. And a lot of jams and that kind of thing, and then a final concert. But a lot of the people that were at this blues camp got COVID because it was a residential thing. People paid money to come and stay there, and then they provided accommodations and food and everything for musicians. But it was just a lot of people congregating, and it was probably too soon for that to happen. But a lot of people there got sick.
Oof.
I didn't get very sick. I mean, I think I only missed 1 gig on the tour. So.
Was it more so you were tired, or did you get a little fever and chill?
I got almost nothing, just a little laryngitis and a little slight sore throat. I never felt really run down or anything. Wasn't much. Yeah, I was fully vaccinated, of course.
Yeah. It seems like it hits you like unexpectedly. It's not like you just
Yeah.
walk outside and the next thing you know, you end up getting COVID. Because
Hmm.
the first time I got it was actually in Nashville, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And that was because me and my dad, we were bar hopping to all these bars.
Yeah.
Getting,
Yeah.
I say partially wasted. I was not totally wasted. So, but we came back and we started feeling terrible too. I couldn't even play my drums. Like,
Yeah.
I roll with playing drums at times. I do some drum covers here and there, but
Mhm.
I was just trying to get on just to see if I can maybe quote unquote burn it out with
Yeah.
like exercising that. But
No, it doesn't really work. Yeah.
no, actually, I woke up with a fever and I had to wake up to put my sweatpants on. So
I don't think I ever got a fever either time I had COVID. So
really,
yeah, I'm fortunate.
absolutely, you've been blessed too. So
Yeah.
it's good to have you around, Billy. Good to see you made it through. But
Yeah. Thank you.
I guess let's see. What is it that you love most about the R&B and the other genres you've been a part of?
It's an emotional music, and it touches my emotions. Uh, there have been many times when I've been listening to music or watching somebody perform where I've had that feeling of that chill down my neck, and the hairs on my arms standing up a little bit, and that shows that it's reaching down really deeply into my feelings, and that's what I like about blues, R&B, and soul. Yeah.
You say it also ties in with how you take the stage and perform in front of an audience, get the adrenaline rush and everything.
Oh, I love that. I love to perform. Yeah, and I watched a lot of the greats back when I was first getting interested in the music. I got a chance to see Otis Redding 3 times and James Brown several times, and Wilson Pickett, and some of the real greats. And so I did watch them perform, and I watched how they carried themselves in front of an audience, and I think I learned a lot about doing that by watching the greats. And I also, as you probably know, I had a chance to collaborate with Otis Clay, who's one of the great soul singers of all time, and we performed together many times, and we also did a full-length album together. So I got to really learn at the feet of one of the real greats.
I guess, how did you two meet? As a
I was a big fan, and my manager contacted him and invited him to come to the East Coast and do some dates with us. And so we ended up doing one date in Washington, D.C., and one in McKees Rocks at Mancini's Lounge. And that was the first time we performed together, and it was so great that we just kept doing it. I went to Chicago several times, and he came to Pittsburgh, and then after we finished the album, we did another tour where we kind of combined our two bands, and we performed again in D.C. and in Pittsburgh, and then unfortunately he died about 3 months later.
well, I guess what happened? Was it a heart attack or what happened?
Yeah, some sort of a heart thing. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
That must have been pretty hard.
yeah. It was, and then we won the Blues Music Award that year for Best Soul Blues Album for the album that we did. But he couldn't be on stage to receive the award, so it was kind of sad.
Mm, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
May you rest in peace too.
Yeah, yeah.
But speaking of blues, do you like it when people kind of throw you in with the blues genre? Because I don't know if it's the same thing with like R&B. So are you okay with that? Or
Well, I mean, it's what people call it now, but I don't consider myself. I mean, I love blues, but I'm not a straight blues artist by any means. I'm more of a soul singer than a blues singer, and I mean, yeah, there is a kind of a blues market, and there's all these blues festivals and blues cruises and all this other stuff, and that's where an audience that is going to dig my music is going to be. But at the same time, it's kind of a limiting word, because it doesn't really fully describe like what I do, you know.
It seems like they're trying to like mold like
Yeah,
gospel, R&B, and all those ones together, kind of put it in one genre so people don't get confused, especially with like this day and age too. I don't know how
yeah,
Gen Z takes it.
that's right. I mean, it's not a big deal really, but uh, you know, I am what I am, and you know, I have to sort of go after uh, where the market is, you know.
I was getting a kick out of the quote "I am what I am" because that was actually a famous Popeye line, and
Right, right.
I actually used to have that little T-shirt, and unfortunately, it shrunk on me after washing it too many times in the washing machine. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I think we have to get you a shirt with that. I have to wear it on stage going forward. So
Yeah.
let's see. But I guess you also had some, I guess, afflictions that happened in your life. You had a cyst that happened on your throat, or what happened there?
Yeah, I've had. I think all singers go through that. I had polyps at one time, and I had surgery on my vocal cords a couple of times actually. Um, right now, I have a cyst, but the cyst is in a place on my vocal cords where it doesn't interfere that much with my singing, so I'm able to work around it. But yeah, all singers have those physical problems, and I've been actually pretty lucky, you know.
Actually, I saw that on the UPM site when I was trying to do some little research.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess what sort of surgery did they have to do? Because you said you were kind of going through some struggles at the time with trying to get your voice
That
kind
was
of.
really a long time ago, you know. But they did laser surgery on my to remove the polyp. But they these days um, they tend to discourage that kind of surgery because the problem is that when it heals, it there's scar tissue left behind, and the scar tissue can, in some ways, be as troublesome or more troublesome than the original polyp. So, um, a lot of times, voice rest is the best way to get rid of something like that, and voice therapy too, speech therapy.
Yeah, that's what you end up taking afterwards. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess what is that at a UPMC? Is it like just trying to teach you like how to do chorus all over again, like what you learned in elementary, middle, and high school?
There's a medical practice at Mercy Hospital that specializes in singers. You know, so throat problems of singers, and they yeah, I had some very good teachers over there who helped me a lot. You know.
Shout out to UPMC. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
special thanks to getting Billy Price back up and running too.
Right.
Did you have any other afflictions that plagued you in your life?
No, not really. I've been pretty fortunate. Pretty good help.
Well, I do have to ask, how did you overcome that? Especially because since the vocals are a really big part of the vocalist's part, I guess it seems like it
Well,
would take a while to get back to
comes
normal.
and goes. I mean, in fact, last Wednesday I had laryngitis. Had a lot of trouble singing in Richmond, but the thing is, my band is so good, and I can sort of pull it off even when I'm at 40% of what I normally can do. I can still entertain the audience. So I just told the audience at the very beginning I have laryngitis, and I'll give you everything I got, and that's what I did. So it kind of works out.
We fight through it in a manner of
Yeah,
speaking
yeah,
too.
that's
So
right.
true man right there. Good job. I guess speaking of your current band, how did you guys meet? Did you just put out an ad one day and just see if they would?
Oh no, no, it kind of evolved. I mean, so there's been a band called the Billy Price Band for I think over 20 years, but the guys that are in the band now are not the same guys in the beginning. I mean, guys sort of play as long as they feel like it, and then sometimes they get other opportunities or they get tired of it or whatever, and they move on. But the band we have right now has been pretty solid for a good 5 or 10 years. And in fact, I have the same bass player and drummer now that used to be with me in a band called Billy Price and the Keystone Rhythm Bands back in the 80s. And so, I mean, I've been playing with those guys forever. You know?
You hear about the various lineup changes that like plague like any sort of band really, but I guess more so with the classic rock groups because unfortunately that's where I study most of the
Yeah,
works. But
yeah.
I guess how do you deal with that? To be honest, because it seems like it'd be your creative differences, drug problems or anything like that. I guess how do you deal with that?
Just like anything else, it's, I'm sure it's the same thing that a manager goes through in business. People do just come and go, and most people just most of the people that have left my bands, I'm still on great terms with. It's just times change, and you do the best you can.
Absolutely do. And you kind of wish it would happen with
It's
any
not
group.
that hard. It's not that hard.
Well, surprisingly, it feels a little bit hard for some people too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
tragic, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess considering the legacy you've been doing since the '70s with Roy, and then up until this point, is there really a legacy you want to leave behind for everybody who have listened and or saw you, regardless?
Well, I mean, I couldn't tell you the number of people who come up to me and say, this is my wife, and I met her at one of your shows, and your music is super important to us. And that feels very good when I hear something like that. But in some ways, artists, and not just musical artists, but all artists are striving for some sort of immortality, because I know that my recordings are going to outlive me, and so I feel good about the fact that I've produced some pretty decent stuff, and after I'm dead and gone, people will still be listening to my stuff, I think.
I think we gotta make like a Pittsburgh Louvre in a sort of way.
Yeah.
Where just, I don't know if we should put yours as, I guess, which album was your favorite? Then we could just call that the Mona Lisa of this Pittsburgh style of music. Which album was your favorite that you've done?
Well, really, my favorites are the last two studio albums that I did, which are Reckoning and Dog Eat Dog, because I had a chance to work with some really extraordinary musicians and an extraordinary producer at a studio in San Jose, California. And, they both have a lot of songs on them that I wrote, along with other people. I collaborate a lot with my keyboard player, Jimmy Britton. And, just the choice of material and the recordings themselves, I think, are really great. So.
Do you still do harmonica every now and again?
I don't play harmonica, no.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Oh, I could have sworn I thought you did, so I'm sorry.
No.
Sometimes I know like the first two that really come to mind was like Ozzy when he did it with like The Wizard, and then Bruce Springsteen on some of his works too. So I thought I saw you when I saw you live a couple times, but no.
No.
All right. I guess, did you play any other instruments before saying like, hey, I'm going to be a vocalist?
Guitar when I was in high school, but I stopped because I wasn't very good. So.
Sometimes you actually do see like the guitar players and the vocalists too, and you tend to wonder like, that must be pretty hard too, especially considering that you have to memorize.
I wish I'd have stuck with it actually, but I, for whatever reason, I didn't.
Best let somebody else do the work.
Yeah.
We're delivering the soul, that's for sure. So let's get to see. Let's see. So, I breeze through these pretty good too. But I guess we jump into the fun questions right now. So, I guess we'll start with the first one here. What is your favorite movie?
I find like anytime, this is a very obvious answer, but like anytime I see The Godfather is on TV, like I might be flipping through stations, I can't stop watching it, So I guess that's probably it. Godfather 1 and 2. I mean, they're both great. I just find the acting is just so compelling in the story, and I can't get away from it. I think it's a masterpiece.
I remember actually seeing the first one too.
Yeah.
Especially with how long it was first off, because I guess those first two were over 2 hours, close to like 3 hours.
Yeah, and they don't feel long.
It did breeze by pretty quick too, but man, it gets intense at times, and you think like, I better watch out for these kind of people too. So I don't know. It's almost like I watch over my back, that sort of thing too. I guess, so were you always a big fan of those mafia movies, like with Scorsese and I don't know if Stanley Kubrick did any. So, but
I like those, but I also like a lot of a lot of the classic foreign films like Fellini and Godard and that kind of thing. I like Ingmar Bergman a lot. I love I love his films.
I actually remember. I actually really dug those Scorsese's films with Goodfellas and Casino a little bit. I actually do remember in college showing my friends like little clips of the Casino movie here too.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, one had to involve them torturing this guy with a vice, so it was graphic to say the least. But they were like, "Hey, that's a damn good movie too." So, but they also got a kick out of Joe Pesci and his little cussing and swearing too. So, I guess who was your favorite actor out of the Godfather series?
Well, De Niro, I think for sure.
De Niro.
Yeah, De Niro's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He always knows. He always knows how to deliver in those sorts of movies as well.
Yep. Yep.
But what is about 3 that nobody really likes? It seems like 1 and 2, and then it's just like they should just stopped after 2.
Well, 3 is better than I saw it recently. It's better than I remembered it being, but that was a high bar to reach. So.
I guess people would feel like it didn't reach it, but it was still good to say the least. So
it was still good, yeah.
All right. What is currently your favorite drink?
Well, I don't drink, so.
I guess a non-alcoholic then.
Tea.
I was just say, did you used to drink?
I used to drink, yeah.
I guess did you have to stop after you had your throat surgery?
No, I just stopped because I was drinking too much.
No, really.
That was many years ago. So.
Was it pretty bad?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I actually thought it was actually going to be something with COVID too, because I've heard like these stories where people like gave up something because of COVID too. Like some guy gave up on cigarettes, but I guess
no, it didn't have anything to do with COVID. This was back in the 80s,
Oh, you've been sober for now over 30 years.
Over 40 years, actually.
40 years. Sorry, what am I thinking?
Yeah.
40 years now. Oh my gosh, that's great to hear. Congratulations. So tea, and what is your favorite food?
I love Asian food. Spicy Asian food's my favorite thing.
Have you toured in Japan and all the other Asian countries?
I've always wanted to. Otis Clay used to do a lot of work in Japan. I would love to go to Japan, but I never have had the opportunity. I've been in Europe a lot, but not in Japan.
I guess what's stopping you? Just can't really find the time.
Yeah.
No, that's unfortunate. Actually, I think Tokyo would be nice. So I think Japan would be nice.
Yeah, my friends the Nighthawks used to play in Tokyo a lot, or in Japan a lot. They were backing a Japanese blues artist, and they would go over there. And they had some great stories to tell about how much fun they had over there.
I guess, did you have any funny memories? I guess if you just want to think of one off the top of your head from touring in the States and Europe and Canada, I guess, did you have any?
Well, I mean, I went over to France a number of times with, there's a guitar player that I did 2 albums with. His name is Fred Chapelier, and I think I did 4 tours with Fred. Very difficult tours. I mean, it would be 10, 11 hours in the van with a bunch of other guys in between dates. I mean, the dates were zigzagging the country. So it was really hard touring, but we had a lot of fun. We played some great shows,
I guess since we're on that topic, I guess, is there any sort of advice you would give to any musicians who want to like travel, tour, and also become a vocalist as well?
Well, I mean, just take care of yourself. Watch what you eat, watch what you drink. Don't drink to excess. Don't use drugs. All those kinds of things. You really have to take care of yourself because the things you can get away with when you are at home are just going to be a lot more troublesome when you're out on the road trying to function and take care of yourself. So,
yeah, I would say the sorts of things you don't take care of yourself, I think then that starts carrying over to how bands break up or...
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, tragic, but it's at least good advice too. So even though people would say it's the cliche sort of advice because it's almost like don't drink too much, don't do drugs, that sort of thing, but it's almost like it's cliche because it's
It's a
true.
cliche because it's true.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean, you have to abide by it. So I
right.
mean,
That's right.
so take it from us. That's for sure. All right. And the last of the fun questions, and this one might put you on the spot, so I'm not sure how people might react to it. But what is your favorite song? It could either be from you or from a different artist.
Um, I'd say either "Let's Stay Together" by Al Green or "Could It Be I'm Falling in Love" by the Spinners. I just love that song, and that song is written by friends of mine who are from Aliquippa. Um, the Steele brothers, Melvin and Mervyn Steele, they wrote that for the Spinners, and I just think it's a wonderful song. I love it.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Is it more the tune, or is it like the everything just flows together and it's just like, damn, that's good?
It's the whole thing. It's the song, it's the lyrics, and the melody and the performance by the Spinners. It's just a 3 minutes of bliss. Beautiful song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I forgot to ask this, but I guess who did influence you whenever you wanted to start taking up blues and all the other genres as well?
Well, I was influenced by all the music that I listened to. Whenever anybody asks me who my favorite singers are, I always say, in blues it's Bobby Bland, and in soul music it's Al Green. So, whether I sound like them or not, I probably don't. But those are my favorite singers.
One thing I would say is, because my dad had always had a collection of music, which I
Hmm.
think is tucked all the way over in there, but
Yeah.
I always feel like your parents, in some sort of way, had influenced you. I guess, did your dad or mother influence you in a way?
No, not really. I mean, they didn't listen to any of the kind of music that I did.
No.
No.
Had to figure it out on our own, so
Yeah, yeah.
that's pretty sweet. All right. So, Billy, we're almost near the end of my podcast right here. Did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into the last question?
Just send me a link when you have it, and I'll take a look.
All right. For the last question, this question may seem a little cliche because I've always asked it in my interviews, but I always like to get people's 2 cents on it too, especially with what COVID has done. So the question goes like this. What sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to get back to some sort of normalcy?
Well, it's pretty clear that the music business is surviving, and that's good. But I would encourage people. I always say, like, go as deep as you can. Don't pussyfoot around. Don't go halfway. If you're going to do something, do it. And that means, to do something like what I do, you have to be driven, and you have to be obsessed, and don't hesitate to be those things, because you don't accomplish anything unless you are.
Spoke like a true prodigy. And
Yeah.
actually, that was the first swear word we actually said in this whole interview too. So I don't know. Do we have to put a censor over that now? So yeah, we're good. All right. So Billy, we've reached the end of my podcast right here. Do you have any final words or any shouts you want to give?
No, not really. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for doing it.
No worries. And I guess you got any new events coming up, or are you taking a break right now?
No, I'm playing. I'm going to the Blues Music Awards in the second week in May. I'm nominated as Best Soul Blues Singer of the Year, and have some opportunities down there. I'm going to do some performing, and I'll be performing in Memphis on, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I think the 10th, 11th, and 12th of May. And then I'll be in Clarksdale, Mississippi on Saturday, the 13th.
And I guess how can people reach you if they want to reach out and just talk to you with you?
Always my website, billyprice.com.
And
Always.
Facebook too, because
It's there. So,
actually it was funny when I reached out to you on Facebook too, because at first I didn't think you were going to respond immediately, but you responded like less than a minute, and I was thinking like, oh wow, you responded quick. That's why it caught me off guard.
happened to be online at the time. Yep.
So it was right place, right time. So all right.
Good.
So everyone, my guest today was William Pollak, aka Billy Price. He's a legend right here, and if you see him, go check out his shows and everything too. I don't know, you're not on YouTube, are you? You're just strictly on more of the website and Facebook.
I'm on YouTube. Yeah.
I'd say, I was gonna say, because normally sometimes on YouTube they do like these what they're called topics, which I guess they put these music videos or whatever sort of like it's basically a cover of the album, and then they just play the song in the background. Just kind of
all my stuff is on YouTube. All my albums are on YouTube, I'm sure.
okay.
Yeah.
So go check out his music on YouTube. Go subscribe to those channels wherever they may be. So Billy, stay safe.
Okay.
Stay tuned, y'all.
Thank you.